This morning, you might use ChatGPT to write an email. Tonight, you might watch a movie where AI decides humans are the enemy. Same word, totally different vibe. So what is AI really? Are we looking at the next stage of human intelligence, or are we just talking to a very advanced parrot with excellent Wi-Fi? Sounds ridiculous, right? But honestly, that is not a bad question. AI feels human, but most of it is not thinking. It does not understand life the way humans do. It feels futuristic, but a lot of it is really just pattern prediction at insane speed. And that is exactly what makes it powerful. AI does not need to be conscious to change your life. It only needs to be useful, fast, and trusted by enough people. So before we argue about whether AI is alive, dangerous, or coming for everyone's job, we need to understand what it actually is, and how to use it without being fooled by it. At the simplest level, AI is software that learns from examples. A regular computer follows instructions, like a recipe. You tell it exactly what to do, step by step. AI works differently. Instead of giving it every rule, we give it a huge number of examples and let it find patterns. Imagine we want to train an AI to recognize birds. We show it thousands of pictures: eagles, parrots, sparrows, crows, chickens, all that. The system starts noticing repeated clues like wings, feathers, beaks, body shapes, and legs. Now we show it a penguin. That is where things get interesting. The AI might get confused because a penguin does not look like the flying birds it has seen before. If it says, "not a bird," we correct it and say, "Nope, that is still a bird." Then the system adjusts. Maybe wings should not matter as much as it thought. Maybe other clues matter more. That is training. It is not learning like a human child. It is trial and error at a massive scale. Now switch from birds to words. ChatGPT works in a similar way, except instead of predicting what is in an image, it predicts language. It looks at your prompt and guesses what word should probably come next. Then, the next one. And after enough words, boom, you get an answer. Pretty impressive, right? But here is the catch. AI is really good at producing what sounds likely. That does not always mean it is true. That one idea explains almost everything. Here is the part a lot of people miss. AI did not just pop out of nowhere. The ideas have been around for decades. The movies were there. The fear was there. The nerds were definitely there. So why now? Two things changed. Computers got crazy powerful, and the internet gave AI an ocean of data. Let me show you how insane the computing part is. According to Epoch AI, the processing power used to train top AI models has been growing about 5 times every year since 2020. Add that up, and it is roughly 10,000 times more than it was just a few years ago. That is not a small upgrade. That is the difference between a bicycle and a rocket engine. Then comes the second ingredient, data. The internet became a giant buffet for AI. Photos, captions, comments, reviews, search queries, subtitles, blog posts, code, recipes, memes, and yes, probably millions of terrible arguments in comment sections. And here is the uncomfortable part. We helped feed it. Every time people like, comment, upload, tag, search, and scroll, they create signals. They create examples. They create patterns. AI did not learn human language from some clean, perfect textbook. It learned from the internet, which is basically humanity's diary with pop-up ads. This is also why AI adoption suddenly feels so fast. Stanford's 2025 AI Index reported that 78% of organizations were using AI in 2024, up from 55% the year before, and US private AI investment reached $109.1 billion in 2024. In other words, this is not just a tech demo anymore, it is moving into normal business life very quickly. That is why AI suddenly feels everywhere. It did not wake up, it scaled up. More chips, more data, more money, more users. Now, the real question is, what happens when a system learns from all that data, but learns the wrong lesson? AI is great at finding patterns. The problem is, it does not always know which patterns actually matter. Imagine an AI trained to recognize wolves. During testing, it keeps calling huskies wolves. At first, you might think, okay, fair enough, huskies and wolves do look kinda similar. But then people look closer and realize something weird. A lot of the wolf photos in the training data had snow in the background, so the AI may not have learned wolf. It may have learned a dog-looking animal plus snow equals wolf. That is funny when it is just a photo. But what if that same kind of mistake happens with job applications, or loan approvals, or healthcare? That is when things start to go sideways. This is where we hit a wall called the black box problem. AI can be like a student who gets straight A's but refuses to show their work. We put DAT A in, we get an answer out, but we may not fully know what happened inside. And if the answer is wrong, figuring out why can be a nightmare. Now add bias. Reuters reported that Amazon once built an internal AI recruiting tool that showed bias against women. The system learned from past hiring patterns, and because those patterns came from a male-dominated tech industry, the AI picked up the wrong lesson. It was not sitting there thinking, I prefer men. That would be creepy in a different way. It was copying the past and turning it into a recommendation. And that is what makes this feel a little chilling. AI bias does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like a clean dashboard, a score, a ranking, or a polite automated rejection email. The danger is not AI turning evil. The danger is us trusting it blindly because the answer came from a machine. Before we talk about jobs, let's clear up one thing. When people say AI, they often make it sound like one giant robot brain sitting in a basement somewhere, waiting for the right moment to take over. That is not really what is happening. The AI writing your email is mostly working with language. The AI unlocking your phone or helping a doctor read a scan is working with images. The AI keeping you on YouTube for one more video is watching your behavior and guessing what you will click next. You know, the reason you opened one cooking video and somehow ended up watching a guy build a cabin in Alaska at 2 a.m. And then there is generative AI, the flashy one, the kind that creates text, images, music, voices, and video. But here is the key point. Most of this is still narrow AI. It may be powerful, but it is built for specific tasks. ChatGPT can write an essay, but it cannot wake up tomorrow, apply to dental school, and start fixing your molars. At least, I really hope not. So when people ask, is AI going to take over? The better question is, which kind of AI are we talking about, and what is it actually designed to do? Because once you understand that, the job question becomes much clearer. Now let's talk about the question people actually care about. Will AI replace your job? Maybe not your whole job, but parts of it? Absolutely. And that is where things get real. AI usually does not replace a job all at once. It starts by eating the easiest tasks first, the drafts, the summaries, the templates, the routine answers. And once those tasks become cheap, the person who only did those tasks has a problem. Imagine you are a marketing assistant. Instead of spending all morning drafting an email, thinking of subject lines, and pulling together customer feedback, you use AI to do that whole pile of work in a blink. But do not celebrate too early. AI can make the skeleton. The human still has to add the soul. It means the human who only writes basic drafts is in trouble, while the human who understands the customer, checks the message, improves the strategy, and knows what will actually persuade people becomes more valuable. That is the difference. The same thing applies to lawyers, teachers, designers, analysts, programmers, real estate agents, and almost everyone with a laptop. If your job is mostly repeating information, AI is coming for that part. If your job requires judgment, trust, taste, responsibility, and real-world context, AI becomes more like a tool than a replacement. So the real divide may not be humans versus AI, it may be people who learn how to direct AI versus people who simply wait for AI to replace them. Think of AI like a very fast intern. It can draft, summarize, organize, and brainstorm. But you still need to check the work before sending it to the client, the boss, the patient, the court, or your mother-in-law. Especially your mother-in-law. So let's bring this back to something real. AI may not replace humans in one dramatic wave, but it will absolutely change which human skills become valuable. The more your work looks like a repeatable task, the more exposed you are. But the more it depends on judgment, trust, taste, responsibility, and real-world context, the more important the human part becomes. And the bigger question is not just about jobs. AI is not scary because it is alive. It is scary because it can sound confident without understanding, make decisions without explaining itself, and become normal before most people know how it works. So maybe the real question is not, is AI conscious? The better question is, are we careful enough to use it wisely? And here is what I want to ask you. Would you trust AI with a decision that affects your own life, like whether you get hired, approved for a loan, or diagnosed correctly? Comment below, because this is not just a tech question anymore. It is a human one.